I think of empathy as this gift of like feeling with somebody, feeling
Monica?
with them. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
how
sorry,
about
I don't
you?
mean to take over.
You guys.
It's my bad.
You
My
know,
bad. My bad.
I'm just saying. Greg is our interviewee today.
No.
Interviewer.
I'm sorry.
So, Greg, tell me, how do you describe empathy?
I don't have a great description for it, but that feeling with, I like that idea of with. So I feel that. So empathy, the whole walk a mile is the. I think empathy is a willingness to open yourself up to experience the emotions another person's experiencing.
I agree with that. I think it's two-part. It's opening yourself up to feel what someone else is feeling, so you're able. And some people it comes more naturally, and I think other times, like Brene Brown says, through life we armor up, and we're like, I don't want to feel what they're feeling. So that's possible. But then the other thing is it's the putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
Is it fair to say that some people have a tendency to be more empathetic because of their personality type or their life experience, or is this a thing that we need to practice as a discipline and a behavior?
I think we are all human at our core, and we are created, and we in our being we feel what each other feels. Like how we respond to it. Like if somebody is stressed around me, I feel it, but I might get my reaction might be distance myself because I don't want to feel what they're feeling. So I have my own reactions and what I do and what my knee jerk is. But I do think there's something inherent in us as human beings that we do possess that, not just ability, but a natural response internally. But how we react to that
is different.
That's a different story.
Greg, I would love to hear from you almost the flip side of that, right? Because I've also heard that there's some wisdom. If someone comes in with a bad day, I don't have to adopt their bad day. Right? I can send them back out either with that bad day or having influenced them with my good day. Greg, is that a part of our effectiveness in the workplace? Is to automatically, inherently feel with them at the time?
I don't know about you or Monica.
Okay.
I don't naturally feel with anybody.
Okay.
I don't go, oh, I see you, I feel that. I usually, I think, have a tendency to be like, come in with a bad day, I'm curious, what's driving you? So and maybe this is you're saying it in a way that is we're saying the same thing. I just process it different because I'm going to ask. Like, what's the problem this morning? Did you have a difficult morning at home? So I don't feel it at all. I go logical. I go, let me use my brain. Let me understand. Because sometimes when we say feeling, it doesn't feel like understanding. But I know empathy is that I kind of understand. Yours the two-part. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. But here's what I find with my own life experiences and this whole human at the core and our own life experiences. Even though I have that, doesn't mean I understand. Even if you explain to me, I'm like, oh, and this is the way you respond to that. I don't understand that. You know what I mean? So that's the hard thing with empathy for me is because I hear everything you're saying. I think I understand the situation you're in, but that's not how I would respond.
Yeah.
So that's part of I think that's why the hard thing about empathy is, even if I understand you logically and I see how you're feeling, because I don't process and translate that scenario that way, it's like, huh. So I think I could appear unempathetic because I'd be like, is that it? You're saying you're acting this way just because of that? And so.
See, I find, I'll take off my interviewer hat. I find this to be a challenge for a lot of people of understanding the difference between empathy and understanding, right? Understanding, I can logically deduce or appreciate what I'm observing and I'm taking in, versus empathy. I'm going to go sit inside that with you.
Yeah.
I may not understand it at all, but I am in proximity enough for you to recognize I'm not distancing myself from the thing that you're walking through. So when it comes down to gender and how it plays in the workplace, there are often times where women have talked about how they've felt to be on the receiving end of what may be a really unclassy, terrible, male-dominated response from somebody. And they will tell me how they feel, and I'll say, well, tell me about what they said. And I'll be like, I don't feel that way.
Right, so that's not empathy.
Well,
right, yeah.
I mean, I don't think there was anything offensive that happened here. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I would probably do something different. I think you're fine. Hey, as a matter of fact, you might be overthinking this. Hey, as a matter of fact, I think that the emotional response you're having right now is probably getting in the way of your ability to think through this clearly, right? So I start identifying holes in their story versus, hey, guess what? I may not understand it, but I'm going to choose proximity and sit with you in it for this period of time, for this interaction.
Boy, that's good.
So,
that's why it's hard. Go on.
No, isolation is like the opposite of what you're talking about, which is good, because we get in our own heads and we can't get out because we don't feel seen or heard. And what empathy does is it helps us feel seen and heard, each as individuals. And the stress and how it's rising and how people are struggling at work, not just because of work, but because of life as well, they need empathy. They don't need to be isolated.
If we're going to have kind of human-centered, or we talk about human resources, right? Or we're going to be human-centered organizations to where we don't go to processes before we go to people.
Yes.
Then we've got to be able to figure this out. But I think, Greg, as a leader, you know this. This process takes time. It takes empathy is not always efficient. I had someone tell me the other day that, John, you're going to have to deal with as a leader, you're going to deal with the tension between efficiency and effectiveness. Empathy is on that effectiveness type of thing. Sometimes efficiency, we got to eventually get back to work. Greg, how do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, the thing, like even when Monica was talking about kids and friends, one of the things, the differences at work, empathy should lead towards a solution.
That's right.
Sometimes in our personal, it's like, I just need to sit with you. We need to have this human moment, and we just feel it. But when we're at work as leaders, as using empathy, it's to help that person. I love the way Monica described that, because then it lets them think clearly and see logically, and then move forward. Right. It's not an intimate personal relationship that we're extending empathy towards. And one of the things you said, John, that I realized when we've been talking about these things is like, empathy is not agreement. I don't have to agree with any of your responses to be able to feel it with you, to be able to see you and you feel like I've seen you, because it's without judgment then. And so for me, empathy has to lead to a solution in the workplace. Or then it's enabling in a negative way. That's
right. That distance between the role as counselor and the role as leader, right? So as leader, my job is to create, an environment for you to thrive. That means I might have to meet you in your pain that day. But then the thriving part comes. Hey, guess what? I read the other day, like one of the most meaningful ways to get someone to really bring out their best is to give them meaningful responsibility. Well, if we don't get back to meaningful responsibility and we stay in that ditch, I'm robbing them of what could actually help improve